What is up, y'all? It's your boy Jermaine, main on MMA. And today, ladies and gents, we are talking once again about my boy Merab Dvalishvili. I think I'm saying that correctly. I believe that's the best I've ever pronounced that in my entire life. I don't think I usually butcher it, but I kind of like try to mumble through that last name because it's real juicy in there. But I think I killed it right there. I think I killed it. Welcome back, ladies and gents. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for all the likes, the comments. I appreciate you guys, all the new subscribers. Thank you guys for a great 2024. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. It was a lot of growth in 2024. You guys might be like, bro, you ain't got no subscribers. Yeah, I had no subscribers before. I had no subscribers. I was basically a faceless channel back then, and it'd be rare that I got a subscriber, and be like a faceless channel with like an hour to 2 hour podcasts of just me drunk babbling. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how anybody found me, but you guys somehow did, and I'm happy the new fans are here now. Welcome. Today we are watching a video about Merab, and it is from this channel. I believe it's called Martial Breakdowns, and I will add the link to the description if I remember. I should. And it's the 3 keys to break your opponent. All right. It is the breakdown of Merab versus Umar. Let's check this video out, react throughout, and at the end, ladies and gents, and see the 3 keys to break your opponent. But that was a great fight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still high from watching Merab look so good in that fight. Let's check this video out.
Merab Dvalishvili not only beat the undefeated Umar Nurmagomedov at UFC 311, but he looked dominant in that fight. There are 3 specific things that he did that you can learn from and apply to your own training. We're going to break down each one right now. Let's go. Number 1. This first concept is one I really hammered on in my video on how to neutralize wrestlers in MMA. Offensive wrestling.
Yes.
Now, don't worry, I'm going to break down some of the specific setups and techniques he used in this fight. But
I just want to pause because this is super random, but offensive wrestling. There was one interview where Cowboy Cerrone, and he wasn't going to beat Habib, but he was saying he wanted to fight Habib. And he was like, no one's ever, he was like, nobody ever asked, like, what happens when you take him down? He was like, I'm pretty good at wrestling. So I'm like, yeah, take him down. Take Habib down. I wanted that fight to happen so bad. And then he got pieced up by Ferguson. But offensive wrestling. I love this guy already.
In order to use these yourself, you need to understand why this works against high-level wrestlers. Take a dominant fighter like Habib, for example. In every fight he had in the UFC, he was the higher caliber wrestler. This leads to a dynamic where most opponents wouldn't dare attempt a takedown on him because they're so reluctant to grapple with him. And this makes sense at first. I mean, you wouldn't want to stand and strike with Alex Pereira, right? The problem is that this makes the fight easier on the wrestler. They can now focus solely on striking and initiating their own takedowns, freeing up the bandwidth in their brain to problem solve. The second you start to attempt your own takedowns, or at a minimum, threaten with counters to the takedowns they initiate, the wrestler now has to think about defensive wrestling instead of just offense. Now, let's look at Merab's strategy for setting up his takedowns in the fight. You may notice at the start of the fight, Merab doesn't seem to be attempting as many takedowns as he did at the end. However, he's doing something here that's laying the foundation for his takedowns for the rest of the fight. You'll notice he's using every opportunity he can to land his overhand with as much heat behind it as possible.
That was a beautiful overhand.
The goal here is to get Umar thinking, okay.
Because he kept ducking. I was remembering this fight. I just want to pause it because I was hyped. This fight was great. When he would dip, it would seem like he was going for a takedown early on. It seemed like Merab was going for a takedown. But then he would come with that overhand, and he was catching Umar early. Umar clipped him early on. All right, he wobbled him a bit, but what Merab was doing here. He was making him think the takedown was coming, but then coming over the top with the overhand. It was beautiful, and then he went for the takedowns. This fight is beautiful.
Okay, that's a heavy shot. I need to make sure I don't get clipped by that. He's now created a dilemma for Umar. You see, there's a reason the overhand is such a popular setup for takedowns from wrestlers. From the opponent's perspective, it looks incredibly similar to a head outside takedown entry, meaning they almost have to guess which the opponent is attempting. If you read the takedown as an overhand and bring your hands up to defend, you've now let your opponent get to your hips. If you read the overhand as a takedown attempt and drop your hands and throw your hips back to defend, you can get clipped and wobbled very quickly as the overhand is a heavy shot to get hit with. Merab mixes it up for the entire fight, faking the shot to land an overhand, faking the overhand to penetrate on a shot, and even pumping a jab and landing an overhand on the entry.
Seemed like
You'll notice for the most part, Merab's finishes through the fight are from the head outside single. Because Umar's keeping his weight off him to avoid being lifted, he's more open to Merab running the pipe, which he's able to do repeatedly. Number 2. Another concept that most of you know played a huge factor in this fight was Merab's relentless cardio. I've got a 2-part video series coming soon to teach you how to program your own strength and conditioning to build an unstoppable gas tank, but for now, I want to show you that there's actually 2 aspects to dominating the pace of a fight. It's not just about your cardio. Let me explain. It's obvious that fatigue will turn a great fighter into a mediocre fighter very quickly. When you start to fatigue, your processing speed, decision-making, and your physical ability all fade. Now, when you start to notice your opponent fade, there's also a psychological effect that leads to a burst of energy within yourself. David Goggins explains it like this.
It takes 1 second of energy to steal everybody's, and then you have all the energy you need. You know how it is when you fight somebody, you broke that motherfucker. He's like, oh God, man, I don't want to go back to the next round. And you feel like, my God, I can fight all day. That's what taking souls is.
For those of you who want the science behind this, it's actually explained by a massive dopamine dump when you sense that continuing to push will lead to a desired outcome. This dopamine alters your sense of perceived effort and allows you to keep going at a higher pace for longer. The second part to dominating the pace of a fight is being able to apply techniques faster than your opponent can react to them. We can see over and over again that the moment one technique doesn't work, Merab either starts chain wrestling or transitioning to striking, forcing Umar to remain 1 step behind him. Number 3. The last area of the fight that Merab was able to dominate was in the transitional spaces between striking and grappling. Over and over again, we'd see that Merab would attempt a takedown and Umar would defend well. However, instead of breaking contact, taking a breather, bouncing for a second and moving back in, almost every time
they broke,
Umar
he threw
was still
something.
extending his arms to create space, Merab would transition to striking right off the break. This is an excellent strategy against an opponent who has high-level takedown defense, as in MMA, we have 2 lines of defense for takedowns, the hands and the hips. By striking on the break, you attack in the opening created by your opponent's hands being occupied defending your takedown. You'll notice several times, instead of backing straight out off the takedown attempt, as most wrestlers do, Merab stays in the pocket and comes right upstairs to strike. And with Merab's relentless pace and cardio, this actually opens up a chance to re-attack just as Umar brings his hands up to defend the strikes.
Beautiful.
That's all for this one, guys. If you took something away from this video, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe so you don't miss my future uploads.
Shout out to Martial Breakdowns. Quick, concise, dope video. A lot of great information. I'm hype about that fight, as you guys can see, dude. It was beautiful. All right. The odds were stacked against Merab, and he showed up. I picked Merab. I said he was going to overwhelm him and tire him out, and that's exactly what happened. You guys thought, oh no, he can wrestle, but I told you guys, I told you guys on the Calf Kick Sports Saturday. Let's check it out, actually. Standing, but his main thing is kickboxing. His main focus is kickboxing. As someone who loves when the Dagestanis go in there and just wrestle and dominate their opponents in that way, I get frustrated watching someone like Umar or even Sharapudin. Oh, just wrestle. You're Dagestani. Use your wrestling. And when you look at the stats, obviously, I'm saying he doesn't use his wrestling. Merab averages about 6 takedown attempts per 15 minutes, right? While it says Umar averages about 4, which I don't think I see it, man. I don't see it. I feel like we're going to see whose game plan can work. Merab is not going to just stand in there and try to kickbox this guy. He's going to try to grapple him. And you guys might be like, nope, he's Dagestani. His wrestling is going to work. It's going to shut it down. But for how long? How exhausting is it? I think both of these men, if this goes 5 rounds, both of these men are going to be exhausted of all the scrambles, everything they're doing. Or maybe only one man will be exhausted. Maybe it's the guy who frustrates me. Like, why don't you use your wrestling more? Maybe it's that guy. Maybe it's that guy who's now defending in a way that he's never had. He's 18-0. It says Merab is 18-4. He's never lost. He looked phenomenal against Corey Sandhagen, but Corey Sandhagen is not UFC champion. Merab Dvalishvili is UFC champion, and for a reason, for a great reason. He's a great fighter. He's got gas tank out of this world. He is the machine. I am going with Merab, and still by decision, ladies and gents. That is my pick. Happy birthday, Merab. They got me hype again. Hell yeah, I called it. I told you. I said I thought maybe they both be exhausted because they're wrestlers, but I was like, or maybe the guy who's never been tested in this way will be exhausted at this one. I called it, ladies and gents. Go over to the Calf Kick Sports channel. Y'all hit that like. Y'all hit that subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Go follow us over there at Calf Kick Sports. Thank you guys, ladies and gents. But let me know what you thought about that Marshall Breakdowns video. Let me know what you thought about my Calf Kick Sports prediction. Let me know. Is there anything you feel like he missed in the fight? Is there something else that Merab did? Was it the taunts? Was it the taunts that won the fight for Merab? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Once again, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Thank you guys for being here again, and I will see you when I see you. I'll holla.